the land of the living.
Amen.
People are leaving here. Someone said in Sunday school, even been in their 20s. In their 20s, we are blessed to be here today. Blessed to be here today. I won't hold you long. Do what I got to do. Get out of the way. I want to invite your attention to a very familiar passage of Scripture. St. John chapter 1, verse 14. St. John chapter 1, verse 14. Thank God for our musicians as well. God bless you. God bless you. Amen. Thank you so much. I'll wait on this. We'll read this one verse of Scripture for us. Some supporting scriptures to this one verse of Scripture. And the rest of the scene get out of the way. You don't have to say, wait a minute. Right. You have to say word. Word. Thank you so much. From the first chapter of the Gospel according to St. John, verse 14 says, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. Most gracious and all-wise Father, I thank you again for your goodness, your kindness, your tender mercy, and all of the many blessings you have stored upon me, your people. Here and again, God, I need you to be with me. Speak to me, speak through me as I speak to this your people. Give me fresh word from on high, God. I pray you open the ears of the hearers, the hearts of the receivers, that your word will fall on good and fertile ground and produce fruit in days to come. I pray, God, that you'll keep me humble, obedient, submissive, and sensitive to your spirit. Keep me ever at the foot of the cross where you can get the glory and the honor out of the life of me, your servant. Let the words of my mouth, the meditation of my heart, my words, my thoughts, be your words, your thoughts. O Lord, my strength and my redeemer. These blessings we ask in Jesus' name. We glory in your Son. Amen. You receive praise, O Lord. Now we read this verse 14 again. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. At the time that we do share together, my brothers and sisters, I want to talk to the subject of the Word became flesh.
Amen.
The Word became flesh. All in this Yuletide season, we've already heard a number of sermons, whether it be on television, whether it be on YouTube or whatever. You've heard sermons about Christ and the birth of Christ, the significance of Christ's birth, the purpose of his birth. But I want to talk about the Word that became flesh. Right. For the time that we share together. And you look at the Word in this verse of Scripture when he says Word, that's Christ. Every time I say Word, it's going to be Christ. Because the Word, Christ, became flesh. What does it mean, the Word became flesh? When Jesus was born in a manger in Bethlehem, he had always, watch it, he had always existed as the Son of God with a Father in heaven. But now, he chose to come into the world in a human body. Let me stop there for a moment. Y'all heard preachers say this. I want to connect just for a moment. All the prophets, all the other men of God were not worthy to come to the earth. But Jesus, the Word that became flesh, came in human flesh and came to redeem us from our sins. Could nobody do it because he was sinless? These other guys, even they were prophets and all that, but they had sin in their lives. Moses became disobedient. I think we got a list, y'all. I'm going to do that. All these persons had flaws or deficiencies in their lives, but Jesus, the Son of God, came into the world in a human body. Well, in verse number 1, it says this: in the beginning was Word, the Word. In the beginning was Christ, and the Word was with God, Christ, and the Word was God, Christ. He was in the beginning. Verse number 2, he was in the beginning. Jesus was always there. Always there from the beginning of creation. He was always there. He says, and he dealt among us. I want to break this down in verse number 14. It was not just a short appearance about which there might be some mistake or misunderstanding. The word dwell means tabernacle. The word dwell means tabernacle. It means a tent. And Jesus' body was a tent. Because if I go into 2 Corinthians chapter 5, talks about this earthly house. It's from present, it says tent or tabernacle. Where the Zah. And so he's talking about Christ being a tabernacle. Or Christ being a tent in his physical body. His body was a tent in which he had lived among men for 33 years. In the New Testament Bible says this. It says this: God chose to dwell among his people in a far more personal, through becoming a man. That's personal, y'all. He loved us so much, he came personally for you and I. And it says, and we beheld his glory. We beheld his glory. In the Bible, it talks about glory often means a bright, shining light. A light which was seen when God, watch this, when God was present. It's good to have God present. It's good to have God present in our worship. That shining light has to be present in our worship experience. It also means that the perfection and the excellence of God. There were two ways in which his glory was revealed. He was radiant in his perfect life and his character. He was perfect. He was flawless. He had no blemishes. There was none in him. He was perfect in all his ways. Secondly, you remember on the Mount of Transfiguration when he showed up with Peter, James, and John on the Mount of Transfiguration. He shows this glorious light. He shows him in Matthew 17, chapter 17, verses 1 and 2. Jesus was the only begotten of the Father. Well, it is that Jesus is God. Unique son. Now we all, in a sense, are sons of God. We all, in a sense, are sons of God. But Jesus is the Son of God in a class all by himself. As of God, he is equal of God. Well, I'm coming to a close. Don't go to sleep. He's full of grace and he's full of truth. This is all describing who Jesus is and who Jesus was. Well, the Lord is merciful. You gotta say that all day this morning. He is merciful. Thank God for his mercy. Thank God that God loved us so much. Thank God for his mercy. Not only was he merciful, but he was also gracious. Not only was he merciful and gracious, but he was also long-suffering. Not only was he that, but he was bountiful in goodness and in truth. Well, he was also completely honest and upright. Yeah. Well, you heard it. I just read it a few months ago. In John 3:16, we hear it, we read it, but I really don't know if we really understand in the fullness of what John 3:16 and John 3:17 really means. It says, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. Could nobody die for you and I but Jesus? I feel something pushing me now. Thank the Holy Ghost. Well, it says this, that the Son, the only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. We have life and life abundant. We have more life. But I like verse 17 really, more so than I do 16. That's just me, y'all. For God did not send his son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. But I want to show y'all something. I just read something in this 17, but he could have sent his son into the world and condemned the world, but he chose not to. Because it was not God's plan to condemn the world. It was not God's plan to judge the world. It was God's plan to save the world. It was God's plan to redeem the world. It was God's plan to set man free from sin. It was God's plan. Yes. And so Jesus, y'all say this word. So Jesus worked God's plan. He worked God's plan to a T. He was born of a virgin who knew no other man but through the Holy Ghost. Well, here this woman was chosen by God, who found favor by God. It's not, oh, somebody said favor is not fair. But I want you to know, saints of the Most High God, favor is fair. When you are saint of the Most High God, favor is fair. So God chose a virgin to bring forth his only begotten son into the world. He could have judged the world, but it was not his plan. He sent him here to suffer, to bleed, and to die in order that the world through him might be saved. The work of the Lord Jesus Christ on the cross was of such tremendous value that all sinners world could be saved. It was a work of the cross. We should sing a song, at the cross, at the cross, where I first saw the light, and all the burdens of my heart rolled away. It was there by faith I received my sight, and now I am happy all the way. It's the cross that helped us get through this. But I want to go back up to verse 13. Watch verse 13. It says, who were born? Not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor the will of man, but of God. He was born by the will of God. And the word will means by the purpose of God to redeem man of his sins. It's not the will of the Father that any should perish. Oh, that we come to the right to the tree of life and have life and have it more abundantly. Well, I'm closing. Well, watch this. We talked about of God. The divine side of salvation is ultimately, it is not a man's will that produces salvation. It is God's will that produces salvation. Man cannot save you and I. It was God's will through his son to save us. Well, in John 18 and 37 says this, when he went before Pilate, Pilate asked the question and said, are you the king? Jesus answered and said, you say rightly that I am the king. For this cause I was born, and for this cause I have come into the world, that I should bear witness of the truth. Who is the truth? God is the truth. He came to bear witness of God, the truth. Everyone is of the truth. Hears my voice. The truth is God. I want to say this as I close, my brothers and sisters. Thank God for the word in the flesh. Thank God for Jesus coming in this world to save you and I. That we might have a right to the tree of life. If it wasn't up for Jesus, where would I be? If it wasn't up for Jesus being born in a stable, in a manger, where would we be? But thanks be to God that God prepared a body for his son, Jesus Christ, to redeem the man from their sins. I'm so glad Philippians chapter 9, verse 15 says, thank God for the unspeakable gift. One translation says, the undescribable gift. I can't really describe Jesus in this cold time, but I thank God for Jesus. I thank God for the one who came and redeemed me. Who redeemed me from my sins. Oh, I was a rich undone. But at the age of 13, I came to the altar. I gave my life to Jesus. I heard about a Savior by the name of Jesus. And He will save you from your sins. I came in October on the Wednesday night. I came, I made up my mind on that Wednesday night. We had a 2-week revival back then, y'all. We only have 3 days and 1 day now. But back then we had a 2-week revival. And I made up my mind in the second week in revival on the Wednesday night. I gave up my marbles. One old school, that's old school, y'all. They said, give up your marbles, boy. Don't play no marbles. Watch it. Concentrate on Jesus. Focus on Jesus. And you shall receive what you go to the altar for. I bet on that. I want the marbles. I don't want Jesus. You and I have got to make up my mind. All I want is Jesus. I want a little more of Jesus. I want all that He gives of Jesus. I came that night. I was on the right side, one point, at the altar by the steps in the old star 449 Illinois. I remember like yesterday. That's the greatest day of my life. The greatest day of my life when I got saved at 449 Illinois Street. And I've been trying to walk ever since. I'm perfect? No, I got some flaws. Yeah, I'm a bishop, but I still got some flaws. But I heard the Bible said, let us go on. Let us go on to perfection. In other words, I got to pull off. Yeah, I'm saved. Yeah, you saved. Yeah, I'm sanctified. Yeah, you sanctified. I feel the Holy Ghost. Yeah, you feel the Holy Ghost well. But we still got to pull up some stuff. Because we still have this sinful nature with us. We still got to pull off and put on more Jesus. We still got to get more and more like Jesus. Hear me, old folks, you say the song, I want to be more and more like Jesus. They hear the song that I want to be more like Jesus. Yeah, I don't want to be like it today, but I want to be more and more like Jesus. I want to talk like Jesus. I want to walk like Jesus. I want to act like Jesus. I want to be more and more like Jesus. The Word came flesh. The Word is valuable. It's valuable. What are you going to do with the Word? What are you going to do? What am I going to do with the Word that has become flesh? Are we going to abide by the Word? Are we going to reject the Word? What are you going to do with the Word? God bless you. God has done with you. And I'm going to you. The Lord bless you. The Lord keep you. Let me be someone who desires prayer.